I think Arrested Development is one of the finest pieces of work done in television comedy. And I think that you are hilarious and essential in that show because
I'm surrounded with funny folks.
No, but that's not it. You're not just the guy who's yes-anding all of the funny people. You're doing it in a hilarious way. You're taking it all in. You're trying to understand. You do a beautiful job in that show.
As being our proxy, right? Like if somebody says something wacky, you've got someone you can turn to and give a ground to bounce off of. Right? I mean, like, there's nothing funny about Martians on Mars. I'm Earth, and they're the Martians, and now there's something that's popping, right?
Yeah, but that is a very hard thing to do. In the history of comedy, straight men were always listed first. So it was Martin and Lewis. It was Abbott and Costello. And it was because a good straight man was actually harder to find than a good wacky person.
Yeah.
And that is the history of comedy, is that the act was controlled by the straight men, Burns and Allen. It was always controlled by the straight men who it was a skill that was seen as more appreciated. So without getting too heavy, too serious, which I've probably done, I thought you did an absolutely stellar, remarkable job on that show.
Thank you, sir.
And you're underselling yourself when you say.
I'm just looking to get you to continue talking in a flattering way about me. I'm trying to continue to tee you up.
I'm just,
so I'm not really sure what you explain. I'm confused.
What you did.
Yeah.
Like Picasso. No, you know what's really nice? It's been, I've told this to Arnett a million times, but that show was a very key bonding element for my son and I, because my son has a very keen eye for comedy and really liked certain shows. And when he discovered Arrested Development, that was it.
How old was he when it started to kind of work for him?
He was in his late 50s.
Yeah.
He was 58.
Yeah.
I had him a long time ago.
You look great, by the way.
I've had so much done to me and for me. No, I want to say he was 11, 12, and chapter and verse. There's not an episode I can name, and we watched them repeatedly. So sometimes when he's blue or we'd be somewhere, it would be okay. There are certain specific episodes that we would watch.
Was the medicine?
It was the medicine. Yeah, and it's nice because we all knew what's coming because we've seen them 1,000 times.
How old is he now?
He is 19.
Yeah, I'll bet if you watched him again, that you'd see. I still see stuff. Like I've been seeing it for a few years, but I saw a clip of something. I was just like, it's just kind of noticing. Like Mitch Hurwitz, who's the reason the whole thing is so funny. He just has sort of this appetite for humor that exists on more than even the standard 2 levels. Like he's not even happy if it doesn't work on like 4 or 5 levels,
right?
And so the older you get, or the more jaded you get, or whatever, you start to see like level 4 and 5 or whatever the hell it would be, to the point where I mean, me personally, I started to just think it was too confusing for my little bird brain towards the end there. Like they were just layers on layers and layers. He would have to come to the set and explain to us, me particularly, what the relevance of this line was or this scene was. And sometimes it was because certain scripts weren't available, which paid off what I was trying to either establish, through some of this exposition, because I was usually the exposition guy, or I was the guy that had to give a knowing look, signifying relevance about something that was a little opaque. So like I would need to know what that means to dial in whatever the hell that look would be. And so he would need to come down and sort of like decipher things for me. Go, oh, you need to raise an eyebrow there because the reason that she said eggplant instead of cashew is because of, like you got to read, like that's going to mean something to you, anyway.
Can't you just give the same knowing look every time? No, I'm not an actor, but, and maybe there's a reason I'm not an actor, but I would just every single time go, ooh.
And just leave it up to the editor to slot it in there, right?
Fix
at
it.
the right time.
Fix it or use some CGI or do something, but you're getting one ooh from me and then I'm out the door. I wouldn't take that from Mitch Hurwitz, not for a second.
We almost did the movie for a long time. Remember all that talk? Do you remember that talk?
Yes, I do remember the movie.
I was so excited about that. I thought, oh my God, we're going to do. And then I remember Matt Damon coming up to me at, I think it was like a Golden Globes or something. And I was so excited to meet him. And he was like, hey, he was a huge fan of Arrested Development. And he was saying, I really think I could play, because I hear you guys are doing that. I think I could, can I do you? Can I play? It was just like, I was like, oh my God. I went right back to Mitch. I said, this thing is moving, like, come on.
Wait a minute. Why can't you be you?
Yeah.
Just
is everybody getting recast?
No, because...
I love that there'd be an Arrested Development movie and all of you would be recast with real actors.
Well, that was the sort of the story that Mitch was thinking. The story of the Arrested Development movie would be that in the show, Hollywood wanted to make a movie about us, and so
the Bluths.
We certainly couldn't play ourselves because we're not actors.
But you still get to be yourselves. But yes, I see
right?
that.
Yeah. So I would be Michael Bluth would be on set watching Matt Damon play Michael Bluth and be so excited. Of course, David Cross would play Tobias in the film as well because he was an actor. Tobias was an actor. Yeah. And I think Arnett was pretty close to getting Farrell to play Job, and it would have been pretty cool.
It could still happen.
No, I don't think anybody gives a shit.
I think they do.
I think it's done.
I think one call from me and it's happening.
I think when
I say call, I mean on an old 1940s phone. Because I'm so out of touch with what kind of pull I have in this town.
Your son would be the only guy in the theater.
That's not true. Tons of fans, at least 9 fans. There's one image I have in my head, which is Will Arnett is trying to sneak in Jeffrey Tambor in a stretch limo, and of course he has his stupid puppet Franklin with him, who is
which you couldn't do today.
Couldn't do today, or maybe racially insensitive puppet. But at one point, there's this second where you think the guard's not going to let him in, that the guard's been offended by this puppet, and then the guard says, "Go," and the guard says, "Wait a minute, you're all going to have to step out of the car," and there is a zoom, and there's a zoom in on a terrified Arnett. There's a zoom on a terrified in the back seat Jeffrey Tambor, and then a zoom in on the ventriloquist dummy Franklin. And I think I've watched that with my son 75 times. And it's just, I've memorized it. It spends, I don't know. It just fills me with delight.